Hi friends, in engineering physics under mechanics we are discussing Newton's laws of motion, and in the last session I have explained why Newton's first law is called law of inertia and how many types of inertia are there, like inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of direction, and various examples for law of inertia. Now, in the current session, we shall first of all try to understand how Newton interpreted Newton's second law. Now, if you recollect from your lower level of understanding, we are all familiar. The moment we say Newton's second law, we all get this into our mind. The moment when anybody says Newton's second law, we immediately say Newton's second law means F is equal to ma. But do you know that Newton never said second law as F equal to ma? This is our interpretation of Newton's second law. So try to recollect the statement. From this we used to say that F is equal to force, m equal to mass, a is equal to acceleration. Therefore force is a product of mass into acceleration, and we try to arrive at proof of this. This is how we used to represent, and we learn what we have learned. The moment we say, as I said earlier, Newton's second law means we always say F is equal to ma. That is a mathematical representation. No doubt F is equal to ma only, but Newton never arrived F equal to ma like this, what we know. So now we will try to learn the Newtonian approach of force from a mechanics angle, from a mathematical angle. Now try to recollect what is the statement. He never used the word mass, he never used the word acceleration in the statement of Newton's second law. If you recollect the statement of Newton's second law, it states that the net force on a particle is equal to the time rate of change of its linear momentum in an inertial frame of reference. I'm repeating. The net force on a particle is equal to the time rate of change of its linear momentum in an inertial reference frame. That is the statement. So this is what Newton said. The rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to applied force. This statement we know. But we will interpret the statement like this. Of course, this statement comes from this, not directly. That means the rate of change of linear momentum of a body with time is directly proportional to the net external force applied on it, and this change takes place in a direction of the applied force. So that is what we have to understand from the statement. So how do we get this? The moment we say force equal to mass into acceleration. What is acceleration? Acceleration is nothing but rate of change of velocity with time. Therefore we again write it as mass into rate of change of velocity with time. So let us put it in a mathematical way. Mass into time rate means denominator, it will have a time. Change in velocity. Whenever a force is applied in a body, it causes acceleration, the body moves. Therefore, there is an initial velocity and a final velocity. So the difference of final and initial velocities is what is known as change of velocity. Therefore, you can write rate of change of velocity with time as final velocity minus initial velocity by time. So therefore, final velocity is generally represented by the alphabet v, initial velocity is always represented by the alphabet u, time is represented by the alphabet t. Therefore, final velocity minus initial velocity by time can be mathematically represented as v minus u by t. So that is what we can write. Is it not? And one more thing, the same thing you can get from the very fundamental first kinematic equation. Try to recollect. V equal to u plus at. Na? V equal to u plus at means a is equal to v minus u by t. Same thing we will substitute. Right? Now you expand. Then this will be m into v minus u by t. This is mv minus mu by t. Understood? mv minus mu by t. What is mv? Mass into velocity. What is mu? Again mass into velocity. The difference is, this is mass into velocity means momentum. The only difference is this is mass into final velocity. Therefore, this is final momentum. This is mass into initial velocity. Therefore, it is initial momentum. So how do we represent now? Final momentum minus initial momentum by time. That means change in momentum only. Change in momentum only. So therefore, this we can represent as F is equal to change in momentum by t. Whenever there is a time coming in the denominator, we say it is rate of change. Rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is equal to what? Force only. So therefore, we can say what is m into v? It is a momentum in a straight line. That is a linear momentum. So therefore, this is time rate of change of momentum. So time rate of change of linear momentum is applied. It is directly proportional to applied force. So you can write like this. So this is, now you go back to your statement. So what it is saying? The rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force, or the rate of change of linear momentum of a body with time is directly proportional to the net external force applied on it, and this change takes place in the direction of the applied force. So this is how Newton has explained the second law of motion. Of course, we tried to interpret this second law of motion as F equal to ma for problem solving. Understood this point? Now we shall represent in a momentum term. Now we shall see how second law is interpreted by Newton himself. What he said? Applied force is directly proportional to time rate of change of linear momentum. That is, F is proportional to, when you say proportionality is replaced with equality, you will get a constant, of course. Therefore, if F is the applied force, this is time rate of change of linear momentum. Mathematically, in a derivative term, you can represent momentum is represented, linear momentum is represented by the vector p. Therefore, you can write time rate of change of linear momentum as d by dt of p. Therefore, F is proportional to d by dt of p. What is p? M into v only. So, therefore, you can write this d by dt of p as d by dt of m into v. Now, here if you see, what is constant here? Mass doesn't change. Therefore, mass is having a constant value. So, therefore, for constant mass system only, this law can be applied. Therefore, constant can be taken out of the differentiation operator by the constant factor rule in differentiation. Therefore, you can write the same thing as F is equal to some constant into, because proportionality is there, F is equal to some constant into mass into dV by dt. You can write like this. F is equal to, because proportionality you are taking out, some constant k into constant mass is taken out of the derivative dV by dt. This is time rate of change of velocity. Na? So time rate of change of velocity, that is d by dt of v, is nothing but acceleration. When velocity is changing with time means it's acceleration. Therefore, since dV by dt is equal to acceleration, you can write, if k is constant, if k is 1, you can write F is equal to ma, where F is the net force applied, m is the mass of the body, and a is the acceleration. So therefore, the net force applied to a body produces a proportional acceleration. Suppose m is constant means F is proportional to a only, na? So you can say net force applied to a body produces a proportional acceleration. So the particles acted upon by an unbalanced system of forces has an acceleration directly proportional and it lies in the direction of the force. So any mass that is gained or lost by the system will cause a change in momentum. Here assuming mass as constant. Suppose its mass is not constant. That means when there is a gain or a loss by the system in its mass, that causes change in momentum. So that is not equal to then a result of the external force. Therefore, you need a different equation for that is necessary for variable mass. This law is applicable for the case of constant mass. If it is a variable mass, then this law cannot be used straight away. So you need a different equation. So consistent with the first law, the time derivative of the momentum is non-zero when the momentum changes its direction, even if there is no change in its magnitude. Therefore, that is the case where uniform circular motion comes into picture. I am repeating. This Newton's second law and approach of Newton helped us to understand that this law holds good for a constant mass. Whenever there is a change in mass, that is either a gain in mass or loss in mass in the system, this law cannot be straight away applied. So therefore you need a different equation for variable mass system. So consistent with the first law, the time derivative of the momentum is non-zero when the momentum changes its direction, even if there is no change in its magnitude. That case you will come across in uniform circular motion. So therefore the relationship also implies the conservation of momentum. When the net force on the body is zero, the momentum of the body is constant. Any net force equal to the rate of change of momentum. Na? So let us see how it will happen. This is what I just now explained. Whenever a mass changes, variation in mass, you need a different equation, not this equation. Suppose time derivative of momentum should be non-zero. What is meant by time derivative of momentum? d by dt of p should not be equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, it varies. So therefore, if it is 0, d by dt of p equal to 0. That is what is meant by that. d by dt of p equal to 0 means derivative of a value of a variable is equal to 0 means variable constant only. So therefore, if net force F equal to 0, suppose in this equation if I say F equal to 0, that means d by dt of p equal to 0. d by dt of p equal to 0 means when do you get the derivative of a value variable 0? Only when the variable is constant. Na? Therefore, constant remains constant. That means momentum is conserved. So you can get law of conservation of momentum even from this also. So this is one important factor you have to understand. And another interesting factor also you need to understand here. Newton's second law requires some modifications if the effects of special relativity are taken into account. Because when the speeds are very high, when the velocities are high, the approximation that momentum is a product of mass and velocity is not accurate. Momentum, what are you defining? Mass into velocity. Momentum equal to mass into velocity only when there is a limited approach towards velocity. At high speed, what happens? This expression that mass into velocity equal to momentum is not correct. Let us see how. So how we modify second law? Say for example, F equal to d by dt of p, that is d by dt of m into v. So you take the constant mass out, m into dv by dt. Now, in this case, an interesting thing can happen. Now, what is v here? You can again say, v means velocity. What is velocity? Distance by time only, na? So, distance if you represent as, distance or displacement if you represent as r, time as t. So, v again can be defined as d by dt of r or dr by dt. So, in this expression of f is equal to d by dt of p, because p is equal to m into v, you can write d by dt of p as d by dt of m into v. And again there, because m being constant, taking out m from the derivative part, we can write f is equal to m into dv by dt. Here v is nothing but velocity, which is nothing but distance by time. Therefore, if you can represent velocity also as time derivative of distance with time, therefore displacement you can represent as s or r and time as t, then v can be written as d by dt of r or dr by dt. Then you substitute v with dr by dt. What will happen? You will see. Then f will become d by dt or m into d by dt of v. What is v? dr by dt. Then automatically what will happen? This will become m into d square r by dt square. Understood or not? D square r by dt square means what? Rate of change of velocity, no? Distance by time is nothing but velocity. Rate of change of velocity with time is what? Acceleration only. Therefore, it will become m into a. D square r by dt square equal to acceleration of the body. So, in that case, you have to use this formula. This is case 1. Let us see case 2. Consider two bodies of masses m1 and m2, and they are acted upon by a same force, let us say F. Now, when F is acting on m1 and m2, it causes acceleration in both masses. Let the acceleration produced by this force on this mass m1 be a1, and the acceleration produced by this force F on the mass m2 be a2. Right? Now, if you apply Newton's second law on this, both masses have been applied same force. Therefore, but the accelerations are different. The masses are different. Therefore, you will have two different equations like F is equal to m1a1, similarly F equal to m2a2. But interesting thing is, since you applied the same force on both the bodies, what we can do? We can interpret this equation as LHS is same. Therefore, RHS should be same. Then we can write m1a1 is equal to m2a2. Then automatically from this, by cross multiplying, you will get m1 by m2 as a2 by a1. Understood? That means this is the ratio of two masses. This is the ratio of accelerations. And of course, here the ratio of acceleration is inverted. So therefore, from this we can say that the ratio of two masses are inverse ratio of the accelerations of the two bodies at the same force. That means whenever the force applied is same, the ratio of two masses is equal to the inverse ratio of the accelerations of the two bodies. This is what we can interpret from Newton's second law. Interestingly, even Newton's first law can be derived from second law, because Newton's first law of motion is nothing but a special case of second law of motion. Let us see what does it mean. So, in F equal to dp by dt, F equal to ma, if the net force of the body is 0, that means when the force is 0, then acceleration of the body is also 0. So, in the absence of net force, body cannot move because there is no acceleration. So, it should move only with constant velocity. Remember, acceleration is 0 means uniform velocity. The moment velocity is changing, acceleration comes into picture. That means non-uniform velocity is acceleration. Uniform acceleration exists means velocity remains constant. This you keep it in mind. Suppose you take this equation normally, F equal to 0. Then ma equal to 0. M cannot be 0. Therefore, F equal to 0 means A is 0. So, means 0 means what? Net force 0 means body moves with constant velocity. This is one way of representing first law. What first law says about? Every body continues to be in the state of rest or of uniform motion unless it is compelled by an external unbalanced force to change that state of rest or motion. That is the statement. That means for the body to move, you need an external force. Without an external force, body cannot move. That is the statement. So that statement you can get from this. Or from the second actual interpretation of second law is what? Time rate of change. So apply that. Suppose F equal to dp by dt. You may have a doubt. How can acceleration be 0? If acceleration is 0, then how it can be velocity constant? Again, we will show it. Acceleration 0 means velocity is constant. How? Suppose if you take F equal to d by dt of p. This is the time rate of change of linear momentum is equal to the applied force. That is the second law. Now you can write for p, you can write mass into velocity. So write it as d by dt into m. This is second law. Now you are saying if the net force is 0, of course you can bring mass being constant, you can bring it out of the differential operator. So you can write it as m into dv by dt. This is nothing but ma. Now F equal to 0 means m into dv by dt equal to 0. Right? M cannot be 0. Therefore, what can be 0? dv by dt. Understood? When dv by dt will be 0, that means the derivative of a variable is 0, means the variable is constant only as per differentiation. So therefore, we should, for dv by dt to be 0, we should be constant. When v constant only, dv by dt can be 0 as per differentiation law. Is it not? So when v remains constant, that means body moves with uniform velocity. Understood or not? Body moves in with the existing velocity. If the existing velocity is not there, body doesn't move. That is first law only, na? So this is how you can derive first law as a special case of second law. Now there are different examples you have studied about second law. For example, if you use the same force to push the car and the bus, that means both bus and car are pushed with the same force, then car will have more acceleration than the bus because car has got less mass. Understood or not? Similarly, it is easy to push an empty shopping cart than a full one because the full shopping cart has more mass than the empty cart. So it depends on mass. So this is how various examples can be quoted for second law. Let us look at third law. Now this is what we are popularly knowing about this. We always say, whenever anybody asks what is Newton's third law, we always say for every action there is always an equal and opposite reaction. True. But Newton never said like that. Newton made a statement. It is like Newton never said F equal to ma. Newton always said F is proportional to d by dt of p. But we can interpret it as F equal to ma. Similarly, the moment we use the word Newton's third law, we always recollect the famous statement saying that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is, this is what he tried to say. Forces of two bodies on each other are always equal and are directed in opposite direction. What do you understand from this? Forces of two bodies on each other are always equal and are directed in opposite direction. That means action is on one body, reaction is on another body. That means action and reaction are equal and they are opposite, but they act on different bodies. This is what the great man said. But we always forget about that. We always are familiar with this statement and we love this statement. In real life also we apply. The moment we hear the word Newton's third law, it has become most popular. Everybody says that every action has got an equal and opposite reaction. We don't even complete the sentence of Newton's third law. Remember, my friends, the moment everybody says, what is Newton's third law? If anybody asks, we'll say, every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's it. No. There is another part to the statement. Whenever we were asked to define or state Newton's law, third law, we should see this one. That means, forces of two bodies on each other are always equal and are directed in opposite direction. See the statement, two bodies. That means two forces. So there will be force on one body, there will be another force on another body. Those forces may be equal. Those forces may be acting opposite to each other. That means on one body some action is happening. Then the reaction can be seen in the other body. That is very important. That is what Newton's idea when he said action and reaction are equal and opposite, no doubt, and act on different bodies. Carefully see. This act on different bodies, nobody bothers in the mankind, including me. When we say, what is Newton's third law? As a reply, we say, every action has got an equal and opposite reaction. Every action has got an equal and opposite reaction, but on two different bodies. So this is the actual statement of the legendary personality Newton. What he said? Forces of two bodies on each other are always equal and or directed in opposite direction. That means force acting on one body, if it is taken as an action, the force responding on the other body is taken as reaction. In that context, action and reaction are equal and opposite, and they are acting on different bodies. Understood? So therefore, to understand this, consider two bodies, object 1 and object 2. Object 1 is exerting some force on object 2. Similarly, object 2 is responding with equal force on object 1. So, the force exerted by the first body on the second body, if it is taken as F of 1, 2, then the force exerted by the second body on the first body is represented as F21. So, what is third law is saying? If force exerted by first body on the second body is taken as action, then the force exerted by the second body on the first body is to be taken as reaction. So action and reaction are equal and opposite. Therefore, action is equal to minus reaction mathematically. In that case, f of 1, 2 must be equal to minus f of 2, 1. That is what we represented here. Here f of 1, 2 may be called as action, f of 2, 1 may be taken as reaction, or vice versa. So the action and reaction never cancel each other, and the force always exists in between pairs. So to every action, there is always opposite and equal reaction, or the mutual actions of two bodies upon each other are always equal and directed to contrary parts. So whatever draws or presses another is as much drawn or pressed by the other. So if you press a stone with your finger, then the finger is also pressed by the stone. The third law means that all forces are interactions between different bodies, and there is no such thing as a unidirectional force or a force that acts only on one body. If body A exerts a force on body B also simultaneously exerts a force of same magnitude on body A. Both forces acting along the same line. That is what we have to understand. So, when you look at different examples, action and reaction from Newton's second law, you can quote different examples. In many activities of our day-to-day life, we can observe this. Suppose if a person is jumping from boat to the shore, boat moves from him. Here, a force that is exerted by him on the boat, which is to be taken as an action, is responsible for its motion. And his motion to the shore is because of the force of reaction. Similarly, in the case of a swimmer, if a swimmer pushes the water in a backward direction with certain force, which is nothing but an action, and the water also pushes the swimmer with an equal and opposite force. Similarly, when you are talking about attraction of a magnet attracting a piece of iron, attraction between magnet and a piece of iron is taken as action. Reaction forces act even when the two bodies are not in contact. So to put it very simply, the force acts between a pair of objects and not on a single object. That is what we have to understand. The force acts between a pair of objects and not on a single object. So each and every force has got two ends. Each of the two ends is same except for being opposite in direction. The ends of force are mirror images of each other. One might say like that. Newton used the third law to derive the law of conservation of momentum. However, from a deeper perspective, conservation of momentum is the more fundamental idea from Galilean invariance, and it holds in cases where Newton's third law appears to fail. For instance, when force fields as well as particles carry momentum, and in quantum mechanics, you just cannot apply Newton's third law as it is. So there should be some modifications. Right? There is another example. Suppose we also sometimes feel pain in our hand while we are pushing a wall. Because if we exert a force on wall by pushing the palm of our hand against, then according to Newton's third law of motion, the wall exerts an equal and opposite force on our palm, and therefore we feel pain in our hand. Similarly, when you take a rubber ball example, rubber ball rebounds when it strikes against a hard floor, for example. So when the rubber ball is striking against a hard floor, the ball exerts a force on the floor. So according to Newton's third law of motion, floor also exerts an equal and opposite force on the ball. That's why it is rebounding. Similarly, gun recoiling example, if you take, a gun recoils when a shot is fired from it. Because if the gun is fired, the bullet goes out due to the force applied on it through the trigger. Based on again third law of Newton, the gun recoils backwards due to reaction acting on it in the opposite direction. So when we jump, for example, our legs apply a force to the ground, and ground applies an equal and opposite reaction force that propels us into the air. So these are all various examples of Newton's third law. Similarly, we can compare action and reaction in Newton's laws of motion. For example, if you take action, the sprinter pushes on the starting blocks, that is action. The blocks push on the sprinter, that is reaction. Similarly, exhaust gases are pushed out of a rocket, that is action. Rocket pushed forward by the gas, that is reaction. Similarly, swimmer pushes the water backward direction. Similarly, that is action. Water pushes the swimmer with an equivalent force, that is reaction. When we are moving on the road by a vehicle, tire pushes on the road, that is action. Road pushes on the tire, that is reaction. Now, if you take a cricket ball game, a softball is hit by a bat on any ball, any game. If a softball is hit by a bat, that is action. The bat slows down as the ball pushes back, that is reaction. Suppose a vase of flowers pushes down on the table, that is action. Table pushes upwards on the vase, that is reaction. Similarly, orbiting satellite, if you take, orbiting satellite is attracted to the earth, that is action. Earth is attracted to the satellite, that is reaction. So like that you can compare action and reaction